Hi, and welcome to the Health for Life podcast for those who want to build strong trucks and strong bodies. This is Kevin Munez and Trisha Foley, your wellness team, bringing you practical tips and tricks to improve your health.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for listening in. We are excited to bring you our podcast today. You are going to get a lot of information out of today's episode, especially since everyone's feeling the pressure right now of the holiday season. Remember, we'd love your feedback, comments, and reviews. Please post them on Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, and so just as you heard, today's podcast is about stress. Everyone experiences stress, but I think it's especially true during the holidays. So today, we're going to share some great tools and resources to support you when you're in the thick of it.
Absolutely. We are going to cover some strategies that can be super helpful when it comes to managing stress, especially during the holidays.
So let's dive in. To start, can you define what stress actually is for everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. Stress is a feeling of emotional or physical tension, but unlike physical stress, emotional stress comes from thoughts about circumstances that make you feel frustrated, angry, or nervous. And in short bursts, stress can really be positive, like when it helps you avoid danger or it motivates you to meet a deadline. But chronic stress can take a major toll on your health.
That's interesting. I think we forget that stress can actually be a good thing in some cases.
Yes, it's definitely our internal alert system. So it tells us to pay attention because there might be danger ahead. And when this happens, hormones that help you get away, like adrenaline, are released. And this can be really useful when you're being chased by something or you need to stay awake for that occasional deadline. But in the 21st century, that's not usually the case.
Yeah, most people are running a million miles an hour these days with a lot of deadlines and responsibilities. Since these things are happening on such a regular basis, the stress hormone instead starts to drain our bodies and cause other health problems.
Yeah, our nervous system is just in overdrive. It doesn't know the difference between being chased by that lion or having a deadline, and it just reacts the same. And at some point, it's going to burn us out.
So, what are some strategies to help press the snooze button on stress?
That's a great question. The first one is to breathe and just take a moment to think about this. When you're stressed, your body is actually in fight or flight, meaning your heart rate increases, you breathe more rapidly, and you're really tense. So, to relieve this, you can take some nice deep breaths. And what this does is it shuts off the fight or flight and calms our nervous system down.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Controlling your breath to let your body know that you're okay.
Exactly. The exercise I like to do is called the 24-second stress buster.
Oh, I'd love to try this. Can you walk me through it?
Yeah, sure. So it's really simple. You can do it anywhere. Basically, what you do is you take a deep breath in for 6 seconds, then you hold it for 6 seconds, then you go ahead and exhale for 6 seconds, and then you just kind of turn your attention to something you're grateful for 6 seconds. And in total, you might have noticed that that's 24 seconds. So you can repeat this as often as you need to.
Oh man, just thinking of that makes me more relaxed.
Yeah, it's actually pretty amazing. And it, again, can be repeated as many times as you need to until you do feel kind of more relaxed. Your shoulders will probably be less tense and you'll just feel better.
All right. Well, now that I'm relaxed, talk to me about the notion that someone's perception of a situation that creates stress and it's not the actual situation itself.
Oh yeah, this is such a important concept. Most people think that their circumstance creates their stress, but it's actually the thought about their circumstance, and the circumstance itself is actually neutral.
Okay, so for those who haven't heard this before, this is pretty mind blowing. But you're absolutely right. Can you explain this further and maybe give us an example?
Yeah, so let's say someone has a deadline and they are really stressed about it. The deadline is really just a date. It's neutral. If you look at the calendar and you say, okay, you know, it's due on this date at this time, that's completely neutral. It's what the person is making the deadline mean that makes them feel stressed.
I never really thought about it that way. I mean, we're all so busy, and I guess it's easy to blame the circumstance for how we feel. I'm just trying to think back to a time where I had a deadline and I was actually thinking things like, there isn't enough time to finish this, or what if my boss hates it?
Yeah, those are exactly the thoughts I'm talking about. So, again, the circumstance in this example is really just the date. It's those thoughts that make us stressed, right? So the key is catching those thoughts and then really taking a step back and asking yourself if there's any evidence for those thoughts to be true. And remember, breathing allows you some space to think more clearly and give yourself time to reframe what I call that stinking thinking. So our thoughts are often like those unsupervised toddlers. They make a mess of our mind, and we have to be really careful to manage them because otherwise they can just run off.
So, to sum it up, the circumstance is neutral. We aren't even aware of what we're thinking about, but those thoughts are so powerful, and if left unmanaged, our imaginations can really take over and cause unnecessary stress.
Yes, and it's helpful to know that many thoughts are habit thoughts. So we have, gosh, thousands of thoughts every day, but because our brains like to be efficient, we are really good at repeating exactly the same thoughts day after day. We just need to make sure that these are positive thoughts, which is unfortunately not usually the case. And many of these habit thoughts are also untrue.
Oh man. So we may be repeating thoughts over and over again that are causing more and more stress to happen while we point to the circumstances as the cause.
Yep, exactly. So the good news is once you understand that this is something that you can control, you can start to interrupt that habit and replace it with a thought that is both positive and believable. So the deadline example, instead of thinking there isn't enough time, you could catch that thought and think, okay, there's not really evidence of this. I have 24 hours. How can I prioritize the time that I do have to knock this out? Can you feel the difference?
Yeah. I mean, compared to the original thought of, I don't have enough time, the more accurate thought of, I have 24 hours, how can I prioritize my time, makes me feel less pressured and in more control. So slow down, breathe, catch my thoughts, and then you can reframe them in a more accurate and believable way.
Exactly. And let me just say that this takes practice. You're not going to get it at first. Just keep with it. And, I'll give myself a plug here. If you need some help with this, you can always schedule time for health coaching to help practice this skill. It really does help.
Well, this is definitely powerful stuff. Okay, I want to switch gears now and talk about some resources.
Absolutely. So, although these tools and strategies are helpful, sometimes stress can just be overwhelming and anxiety or depression can start to set in. And there is absolutely no reason to feel embarrassed or ashamed for experiencing these things. But it is really important to have support.
Yes, and one of the options available to you guys is the Employee Assistance Program. And we wanted to make sure that you guys know that it is available at no cost to you, and it's 100% confidential. And we wanted to get you more information on this, so we have a special treat for you, and it's going to be a guest interview with our EAP rep. And we will play that at the end of this episode.
Absolutely. So, we would also love to hear your ideas and strategies as well. Make sure to post them on Facebook and share them with others. And, you may have some tips or tricks that really are helpful for someone else. So, I encourage you to schedule a health coaching session at no cost to you by using the Care Here app. Thank you guys for listening in today, and you can always reach us at tfoley@carehere.com.
Or at kevin.muniz@consultant.volvo.com. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we will move us into our interview with the EAP rep. Bye, everybody.
All right, well, we have a special guest joining us today, Wayne Burnett, who is one of the Employee Assistance Program representatives, and he is going to share with us a little bit about the Employee Assistance Program. Welcome, Wayne.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be a part of this podcast today.
Great. So first, can you just kind of start by telling us a little bit about your role?
Well, first of all, I'm a 23-year employee here at the factory, hired in as an assembler, and my position is a joint position between the company and UAW International. It's a resource position within the company to help folks get information concerning our employee assistance program benefits. So my role basically is to provide information and resources to our employees and their family members when they need help and perhaps don't know what to do or where to go to get that help, where to turn. I'm a go-to person in the factory for folks to call or come to my office to visit, to where we can sit down and they can discuss some of the issues they're dealing with, and I can help them get pointed in the right direction.
Wow, it sounds like you've built quite the legacy there at the factory. I know everyone seems to feel a little bit more pressure around the holidays. What are some of the common stressors that you tend to see, and how the EAP can help?
Well, some of the stressors that we see during the holidays, particularly, and I also track employee bereavements that are called in. And, you know, one of the things that I see is that there's always an increase in bereavements during this time of the year that will go all the way through the first of the year. So, you know, there's people who will have loved ones, family members they're close to that are going to pass away. And the holidays, and some, you know, during the year, or even it may have been several years, but, you know, the holidays can be a difficult time for families that have lost loved ones, you know, maybe dealing with grief and depression. You know, and that's a that comes around that most folks have to figure out how they're going to deal with that. You know, and then another issue that I see along those same lines is a lot of times there are families who are going through a separation, or maybe a husband and wife going through a divorce, and there's children involved, and trying to work through those issues. That can be stressful as well. Can bring about, you know, some depression, and that's one of the things that I see that you know, and I'll talk more about the EAP benefits in a moment, but that's one of the things that I see. Another area is just the area of finances. You know, holidays, especially Christmas, you know, taxes people financially, feeling pressured to do certain things, to spend a certain amount of money, you know, and you still got your normal bills to pay, and so that can be a stress point as well. And you know, the EAP again has provisions and resources for that. And then something else we're dealing with this year that, you know, that we've never had to deal with before, especially during these holidays, is the COVID-19. You know, the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you know, that's a time for families to get together and to celebrate. You know, we have large family gatherings and dinners. And, you know, with the current CDC and state guidelines in place, you know, they're recommending that we limit the number of people that are in a gathering. For example, I just heard the other day that Wythe County, the Wythe County Health Department is recommending that families have no more than 5 people gathering together. So when you're used to having a large group of people, and some families may have, 10, 15, 20, 30 people together for a dinner. We have our elderly parents, to think about. We've got young children to think about. And, ultimately, everyone's got to do, what they feel is right about it. But, we've got to try to protect our families. And, if we follow the guidelines that's been set up, that can be a very stressful thing for folks to try to get through this year is just how are we going to maneuver through this with Christmas and Thanksgiving and without our especially our elderly loved ones feeling isolated and maybe themselves dealing with some depression because the family can't get together in the way it normally does. So I think those are some things that folks deal with and that we're going to be dealing with this year in particular.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you made some really good points there. I mean, the stress of the holidays brings up so many different issues, including financial issues and just, other stressors that can kind of pull families in different directions. And then on top of that, we do have, the pandemic that we're looking at this year. So it's so great to hear that they have somebody to turn to that has been here for a long time. But yeah, I'd love to hear how, you kind of work with the AP and what services that they offer in addition to some of the ones you've already mentioned.
Sure. And, the thing to keep in mind is, we're all in this together. I have elderly parents. My mom is 80. My father's 85. This year is going to be different for us. We're not even sure exactly how we're going to do things yet. So, it provides a certain amount of stress. But, as far as the provisions that we have that the EAP provides, the EAP is a company-paid benefit that basically provides 3 resources. One of those is visits with a licensed counselor, and that in the community, then that can be for any personal issues or family issues that employee or family members are dealing with, from stress, depression, anxiety, just anything that we've got going on in our lives that we feel like we need some help with. Counselors are out there. And the EAP, when we call that number, the EAP number, it's a toll-free number, but the EAP itself will provide 6 prepaid visits to employees and their family members. And that resets at the beginning of the year. So each year you get 6 visits with a licensed counselor that's available. And then anything beyond those 6 visits, it switches over to our health insurance plan, which will cover everything except our normal copay. And then on top of that, there's financial resources by calling that number, which I will give that number as we get to the end of this podcast. Just remind me to do that. But when we call that number, we can also ask for financial resources and information. And they have resources that they can get us in contact with for things like debt consolidation, taxes, anything that has to do with our finances. They can put us in touch with folks on a professional level that can help with that. And then another resource that it provides is also consultation with an attorney for any legal issues we may have going on. By calling that toll-free number, they can get us in touch with a participating attorney in our area. If you use the EAP, the employee or family member gets the initial visit at no cost. the consultation, and then if we retain the attorney services, there's a 25% discount. So that's something that folks have used over the years that has been a big help. All three of those things people have used over the years, and they've all three been very helpful to our employees and family members.
That is most excellent. What can someone expect when they call the EAP? Is there a special ID number that they have to use? Are they available 24/7? And is this something that is confidential? Like HR is not going to call you out and say, "Hey, I saw you called the EAP for this. We need to have a talk as well."
Yeah, no, the use of the EAP is completely confidential. It's no different than making an appointment with your primary care doctor or going to the clinic here at the plant. Once you call that number, and a person will the person that answers the phone, you'll give them your name. If you're an employee that you work at Volvo in Dublin, Virginia, or if you're a family member, your relationship to the employee, and that you're interested in a visit with the EAP counselor, or that you would like to get some financial resource information or legal information. And then from that point on, the receptionist is going to take control of the. They're going to get some basic information from that person. Then they're going to connect them with a case worker that's going to work with them throughout this entire process, and they're going to get them the name and phone number of a counselor or an attorney or a financial resource that they can call, and especially in the case of an attorney and a licensed counselor, where they can call and make an appointment and go in the office to visit with those folks. And these resources are scattered throughout our communities. We have employees, scattered all over Southwest Virginia and in West Virginia, and the EAP has resources in all of those areas, so they can accommodate people regardless of where we live. So that's basically going to be the process. So it is 100% confidential. There's no feedback that comes to me. There's no feedback that comes to the company about personal information. And it is available 24/7. The EAP number that I'll give at the end of the podcast, you can call that number 24/7, and there'll be somebody that'll either take your call immediately or will return your call in a timely manner.
That's just great to know. And I think it really does take the pressure off to know that there's somebody local here that can really take them under their wing and support them through whatever hardship they're going through and experiencing. And I know just being able to kind of bounce questions off of an expert is reassuring. So that is so great to hear.
Yeah, one of the things I'd like to add is, there's a lot of times, when folks are, especially employees here in the factory, are referred to me in different ways. Sometimes it's a self-referral. Sometimes another coworker will know that they're going through some personal struggles in their life, and they'll give them my name and number and, just suggest that they give me a call. Sometimes it might be a supervisor or another member of management. It could be a union rep. But we're all working together to try to help folks get through difficult times, because we're all human. We all face difficulties. We all face times in life when, maybe we just feel lost. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to go. And, a person can call me. They can talk to me on the phone. They can come over to the office. We can sit down and talk. But just having that knowledge that it's there means a whole lot, and not just for the employee, but for the family member. There's many times when I may have a spouse or the adult child of a spouse of an employee that will call, and so those folks can use the EAP just as much as the family, just as much as the employee.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that that's definitely some important information, because, a lot of times it does feel like there's so many barriers and It's good to know that there is just, those grassroots efforts being held here locally, and, somebody that they know by name here at the plant that they can talk with you first and get their questions addressed, and then you can definitely help them in the process to getting them connected with who they need to connect with. So we just want to thank you, Wayne, so much for, sharing this information with us today. And they can also get EAP information from the health center. So, if they ever did need the flyer or anything, they can definitely come to us. But can you just give us that phone number?
Sure. What I'd like to do is I'm going to give, there's actually 2 phone numbers, and there's also a website. Our EAP, the company that manages our EAP, it's managed by a third party, and they have 2 toll-free numbers. They also have a website that you can go on and register, to where you can log in, and there's tons of information and resources on the website that people may not know of. But if a person just take a few minutes and log in and look at all the resources there, they'd be amazed at what all is available. But the phone numbers to contact Health Advocate, which is the company that manages our EAP, one number is 866-799-2728. The other number is 877-240-6863. And one of the things I'd like to say is that if a person calls the EAP, when a person calls the EAP and they're given the phone number to a counselor, when they call that counselor to make an appointment, a lot of times they'll get the counselor's voicemail. A lot of these counselors, they don't have secretaries, they don't have people answering the phones for them, so you have to leave a message. And I have been asked by some of these counselors in the community to remind people that when they call in, to leave their information, to speak slowly, to speak clearly when they give their name, especially when they give their phone number, because a lot of times people speak their phone number so fast that the counselor can't get it all, and then they don't know who to call. So it's important for folks, when they do call that counselor and leave a message, to speak slowly, speak clearly, to make sure they've got the right information. The website is Health Advocate, capital H, EALTH, capital A, DVOCATE.com/members. And then once you land on that web page, then you can register your own account there and log in and look at all the resources that are available.
Wonderful information. Kevin, did you have anything else you wanted to ask Wayne today, or anything to add?
Oh, I just really appreciate you coming on and giving us all of this information. Thank you so much.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this. And, one other thing I would like to just add to this is, not only do I work with folks relating to the EAP benefit, but I also work with folks. There's a couple of other areas that I work with folks on, whether it be an employee or a family member. And I also want to say that the EAP, if an employee and their household family members have access to the EAP, the spouse, adult children living in the home have access to the EAP, and also this company, Health Advocate, they also offer their EAP services to the employees' parents and to the spouse's parents as well. So, if an employee has parents or parent-in-laws that may be dealing with some of these issues we've talked about, they can use the EAP as well. Just give the employees information, and they can get access to some of those benefits. Adult children living at home, and then adult children that are still that may be in college or even living out on their own, as long as they're still on their parents' insurance, also have access to the EAP. One other thing I wanted to share is that, not in addition to the EAP benefits, some of the other things that I work with folks on is I work with employees and family members in the area of voluntary substance abuse treatment. I help to help the employee to get the information they need if that becomes an issue, to get them into treatment, or at least get them started in the right direction. And then also mental health issues. It's something we don't like to talk about, and it's something we don't want a lot of people to know about, but there's a lot of resources in the communities that we live in, and once I meet with someone, there may be some things that are going on that the EAP is not the place to go, because it's for basic counseling services. We may need to turn to a community resource for mental health care or substance abuse treatment. And so I also have information on those areas as well. And so when I'm talking to someone, whether it's on the phone or in my office, then we're going to look at the whole picture. We're going to give the person all the information they need, whether it be through their EAP benefit or through community resources in the area that they live, to get the help that they need for them and their family.
Great. And I think, just knowing that that's available and removing some of the stigma that people feel when it comes to mental health and, any kind of addiction, I think it's very brave for them to be able to step out, but also important to know that we have somebody that is here to help them and really guide them through that process. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think that is such good information for employees to have and know that their family members are also taken care of, even their extended family.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much again, Wayne. We really appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing those phone numbers with us. And where in the plant are you located?
I'm located in the UAW Work Center, over behind the ASRS. There's a hall that goes over to the BIW shop and our union office. There's a door to the right. There's a sign there and information on the wall, but there's a door there that you access the union office. It's locked. A person would have to call us and let us know they're coming. But if someone wanted to come see me, they can give me a call. If someone wants more information about any of the EAP resources, they should give me a call. My number is 540-616-8178. They can give me a call, and I can tell them how to get over here if they're not already sure. But again, that's where I'm located in the factory, is in the UAW Work Center.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, and we look forward to answering anybody's questions that they have. So thanks so much.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right.